In spiritual exercises, you people are playing basic self-haranguing, and that will stop you from what your approach is here. And your approach here is to find who you are in a greater spiritual consciousness. Give up your basic self-considerations. Is that quite clear? Just give them up. Sacrifice them immediately. If you are going to see God tonight, and that possibility is entirely present, you can't see it based upon how you do it or you'd already have done it. That means you have to make some radical changes inside of you to allow that to take place. Since it's already there, and those who have opened to that have found that to be so, you who aren't experiencing it are not unique. Quit making yourself unique. Just come into the ordinariness, which is the condition prior to God. Quit running your specialness, because that won't work. It'll just block you entirely. You just come right down to just being air, just as common as air. And you can experience some tremendous things, and none of it will be like I'm telling you. If I can tell it to you, it's not so. Okay? So what I don't tell you is exactly where you have to go. So when I say I can't tell you, look in that area immediately, because that's where you're going to find it. The more unknowing your exercises into the Spirit become, the closer you are to it. The more unknowing. The more you know what's happening, the further you are away from it. Is that clear? The more it's unknown, it's called divine unknowing. In there, you're going to find God. Guess what you're not going to know? See, it's unknowing. The paradox of it is it's unknowing here in the intellect. But in the heart, in your loving, in your caring, you'll just explode with it. Now, I could not wish anything better on you than to explode into God consciousness. Okay, who's got the first question? Stand up, and then we'll know to bring it to.
Thank you. I'm having a real problem sitting still. And my eyes want to open, and I want to stand up and scream and cry, and my body aches, and I can't seem to stay where I want to stay. And I want to know if you can give me some suggestion on how to stay focused. And I also forget where I am, and I'd like to remember where I've gone when I'm not screaming and jumping around and opening my eyes.
Do you have those in parts, or is that all together?
All together.
I haven't the foggiest. You want to do them in sections, I can answer it, but all together,
Okay.
They're contradictory.
How
do you sit still and have your body not scream and yell and jump around?
Yeah.
How many people have ever experienced that? Raise your hand. Now that we know what that is, that's called being a human. This world that we see by reflection is illusionary. And we're trained from the minute we're born to make something of ourselves in the world. And the world's changing continuously. And if we take ourselves and measure it up out there, we're taught or trained or brainwashed, as it were. I mean, that means if you have a brain, to do those things in the world that are measurable in the world. Now, spiritual exercises are directly opposed to that, because it's an inner thing that you're dealing with, and you really are not concerned with what the outer world is doing in any way, shape, or form, except if you're sitting in the room and it catches on fire and it's going to burn your body. Then you get out of the room. If you haven't had that experience of the transcendental nature, I'd get out of the room. Also, if you have body disturbances called when nature calls approaches, I would handle those. Now, some of you that raised your hand, that your body ached and you felt like jumping up and screaming, did you find out that when you just persevered doing SEs, that disappeared? If so, raise your hand. Now you know how to do it. You just keep at it. You're one of those that said, I'm relatively new to doing spiritual exercises. There was good news and bad news in that. One is you're probably going to start out getting a real good dose of how to do it in depth, nurturing yourself. And the bad news is you don't have the experience of how to sit long without it getting in your way. And that's a major obstacle to overcome, how to sit still for long hours. A value in sitting still long hours is it rests the nervous system. When the nervous system is rested, it also then has the ability and the capacity to experience a greater or higher vibration. As the energy comes into you from doing spiritual exercises, there is a tendency for the body to get real irritated. That's good news because it's letting you know that the spiritual energy is coming in, and the bad news is it's irritating and difficult to handle. At that point, you have two choices. One is the body runs you, meaning you get up and run around and scream, or two, you run the body, which means you make it sit and behave. We're told to get up and run and play, and we run around and we compete in the world. We're gone hither and yon, and just scattered energy. When we're doing spiritual exercises, we start regrouping the energy up here in the third eye, which is referred to as the 10th door. It's invisible, but it's a real one. The other 9 doors are the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the ears, the anus, and the vagina or penis. Those are the 9 doors into the physical world. They're the doors of corruption. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be corrupted when you go in them. They just are the doors to corruption. The spiritual door is not a door to corruption because you can't enter it except in the spirit. So there's a prerequisite before getting to the 10th door called spiritualizing your consciousness. Now, spiritualizing your consciousness has nothing to do with your body, has nothing to do with what you eat, has nothing to do with what you drink, has nothing to do with what you smoke, has nothing to do with any of the 9 lower level doorways. Nothing at all to do with that. If it did, we'd all be dead or gone or would be in heaven. What it has to do with is the spiritual body. The Bible refers to as the inner man is rejuvenated daily and the outer man dies continuously. Paul says, I die daily to be resurrected. Christ said you must not be born again, but enter into the regeneration. Those things are all an inner process and do not deal with outer circumstances or phenomena or lack of it. Your second question was what? How can I remember where I've been?
Yeah.
Would you remember what you had for breakfast 10 days ago? Why not?
Because it's not important.
Right, and neither is it important where you've been spiritually. It's where you are now and what you're doing right now. The interesting thing is once we go into the nowness of spirit, it comes up and goes out into the fullness of time. In the fullness of time, we get to see where we've been and where we're going and where we are. But we can't get to the fullness of time from a physical approach, from an emotional approach, and from a mental approach, because those are restricted. When we come into the spirit, we transcend time, which we don't get it then either. But when we move up into the spirit, we come into the fullness of it. Everything is right now, past, present, future, all total existence. Therefore, you don't have to remember anything, and it's a waste of time to have a mind. In terms of this, it's not a waste of time to have a mind if you're doing multiplication, mathematics, and counting change. And it's a very, very good reason, a time to have a mind and have it function. Not in spiritual exercises. When you get up from doing SEs, there should not even be any comment of what happened in your SEs. None. Because that breeds egoistic tendencies, bragging, separation through I'm better than everybody else, or separation from I'm not getting what everybody else is getting. And there's a biblical statement that says, do not be a stumbling block for other people on the spiritual path. We become a stumbling block when we place people in front of people, place information that is not uplifting to them. So if I have a spiritual experience and I place that in front of you, and that's not uplifting to you, it has become a stumbling block to you. Now what if I don't know the difference? I keep my mouth shut. If in doubt, don't do. The idea is always here, now, here, now, here, now. After you've come to here, now, you will start to be there then. You will remember to be there. When you're in the there-ness, which is spirit, you're in the isness. It is right here, and now right here. And that's maintained without any kind of effort. Because it's maintained by the same mechanism that digests your food, runs your blood, wakes you from sleep. That same mechanism knows how to handle the other levels. It's referred to as the bicameral mind if you're talking biologically.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
What I have trouble with, when I sit down to do SEs, and it comes up a lot, is just a tremendous amount of tension. I'm out, then I'm in, then I'm out, then I'm in, but it's like I'm constantly being pulled out, even when I think I've taken care of all the distraction levels, like handling any bills that had to be paid or whatever, and then I think I've taken care of everything, and I sit down, and then all the other stuff, anxiety stuff, comes up. And what also comes up with it is, as usual, the expectation level of something going to happen. And I know that doesn't work, and I can sit there and tell myself all day long it doesn't work, and I can sit there in SE saying, I know this doesn't work, but that doesn't get me past it, and I'd like help in getting past that, because when I do get into the inner space, it's so beautiful.
Now you know that, right? When you get to the inner space, it's so beautiful. You know that.
Yes, I do know that.
But your knowing beautiful things won't override knowing negative things.
The knowing doesn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, what is it that you have to do in order to maintain it?
That's what I'm asking for help.
Wow.
I don't.
If you decide that you will love all things, and that doesn't mean it's all going to be at 100%, because you may love a drink of water more than you love smog, but you love smog more than no air at all.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's relative, and smog may be down to the 2 and no air is down to 0. So I'll take smog rather than no air. So if you do things in terms of the loving of it, it won't matter what happens to you in terms of anxiety or fear or hate or worry, because you won't be dealing in that. You'll be dealing in just loving it. Loving is the primary key. It's a primary key. Endurance is a secondary thing that happens with loving. When we're loving someone or something or an ideal, we pick up an energy from inside of us that is so marvelous that we actually can feel guilty that we don't have it all the time. Now we've got to love that guilt feeling, or it's going to throw us out into behavioral things called, gee, I better go do the laundry, I better go do this, I better go mail my check, I better go make this phone call. It'd be very important if you have the type of syndrome where you sit in SEs and do listings, all the things I got to do, that you have a piece of paper in front of you, and you're enchanting the hue or your own initiation word, and you're chanting a hue, do the washing. Open your eyes and do the washing. Go back in, it says do the washing, you say, I wrote that down. Hue. That's amazing. It says, okay, and it'll stop bothering you. Pretty soon you write things down, and it won't even come back in again. Now, when you get through, you take that list and you go do those things. If you don't, the next time you sit down, it will not let you write the list because you won't do it. So there's a trust that's building there with you and an agreement inside of yourself that what you write on the list, you're going to take into awareness and attempt to create it and finish it. Now, some things might not, like doing a term paper. That may be a 6-week job, but it will say, go down to the library and get your 3x5 cards and start your research. And now you could go down and walk in the door, look in the library, and walk out, and you start your research. I mean, technically, that part of you that knows that is going to say, okay, you did it. Now, if the next time you do that, it'll go, no, you cheated. And it'll call you into account. Nobody else on the planet has a right to do that. Nobody has a right to do that. Only you. You're the only one that truly knows all of your history and all your line of energy. If you don't take the list and do those things, it will start giving it to you symbolically. Irritation, anger, frustrations, hallucinations, idiosyncratic behavior. And there's no way to grab a hold of that and do something with it because it's in the fantasy world or the mythology. So if you write down these things, or you can put it in a tape recorder. Now I used to put in a tape recorder and play the tape recorder back, and I'd spoken in tongues. And I'd go, what was that? And then I'd get back in the SEs and turn on the tape recorder, and I'd know it. I'd go, oh, I know what he's saying. He's saying this. Turned off, come back into reality, and not know what was on the tape, because it's in another language. Well, I had a real problem with that. So I told the part of me that was giving me symbols, and there's a glossolalia, the speaking in tongues, to give me it in a way where I could remember it. And I wouldn't fool myself to think that I remember it when I spoke it to a tape recorder. And it said, write it down. Because you can't write in tongues. You can only speak in tongues. You can write in languages. So I wrote the stuff down, and I'd sit and watch, and it would have to be English. If it didn't, I'd know that's not English, and I won't know it in 20 minutes. So then I would have to write it in a way I could understand it. And a lot of it came through in symbols, looked like Egyptian hieroglyphics. So you have to tell yourself, give it to me in a way that I can work with it, that I can deal with it, that's understandable. And you have to insist upon that. And you don't say, oh, well, it's changed a little bit, that'll be it. Not if it's not it. You say, that was a nice change, that isn't it yet. Give it to me in more detail. Now you got to be prepared to sit down and spell out every word very laboriously if you have to. And once that starts to take place with you and you've made the contact, then the writing of the information can also dissolve it, where it takes its position of importance relative to everything else. The first thing that comes in your mind may be 45th on the list. And by the time you get down to it, when you did number 30, number 45 disappeared because it was connected together. So when you get down there, you say, I don't have to do it, it was finished already. But at the same time, you better look at number 45 to see that it's finished.
So it's the loving of it and the making of the list.
You have to lay your body on the line. When you love something, you got to put your body with your word.
Okay, I got that. And the loving of it, what my mind does with that is say, you should be doing that.
That's not a loving consciousness.
I know.
So then you say, well, I won't should on you if you don't should on me. Don't be the keeper of your own shoulds.
I think I'll go work those and then see how that does.
All right.
Thank you.
This may sound like a repeat of a question that was already asked, but I think it's a new question. It's about the thing you talked about of sitting through the pain.
I guess some people have been experiencing that already.
Yeah, well, it worked with me, and I'm wondering how it works.
How it works in,
Yeah.
What, you mean mechanically or physically or what?
Well, for instance, does it work just when you're doing SEs? Does it only work in here? What's the contradiction that you would think that you would get up and relieve the pain, and actually you go deeper into it and it goes away? How does it work that way?
When long distance runners run and they come up against what they call the wall, they take another breath and step through it. As they do, they're beyond pain. They're into an ecstasy, a euphoria, and in that, by definition, no pain can exist. As a reality, it's the same energy that was pain is now free-flowing euphoric energy, and we call it second wind. Does that happen outside this room? Sure, running. People exercise, and exercising of the physical body is not to exercise the physical body. It's exercising the inner strength. It's an inner discipline. Once the inner discipline's been awakened, then the physical body comes in line with that. And people don't know it. They go out and exercise their body, and when the body doesn't come in shape, they go, what a waste of time. They're still sloppy inwardly. So the outer exercise is an inner discipline. When that takes place, you can come up against pain. What used to be a headache, after you exercise, you don't get headaches anymore. Well, why not? The energy's still there. It's exactly the same energy. It's just that the energy is now free. And it's now available to you in a state of freedom, not a state of liberation. Freedom is inside of you. Liberation is when you're able to leave the planet under your own conscious dominion. The Hindus call it moksha, liberation. Christians call it salvation. Born again would be freedom. Do you get the difference? One is a greater reality.
Does the physiology actually change?
Yes, the physiology of the body will change. So what happens is when we have increased the exercise as a method of discipline, that's actually focusing. Focusing is a process of love. When we love someone, we're focused on them. Even if they're not there, we're focused on them. And when we don't get them, we pine for them. The other end of it's when you're with somebody you don't love and you want to be with somebody else. So it looks like the same thing. The loving of somebody else always is what we're talking about. When you're doing the discipline of activity, that's a loving quality. It doesn't carry the same visual stimulus as a physical body called there she is. And I want that. It carries with it an inner quality of like hearing a joke and you crack up and you laugh. Or I call it looking at a little baby. And you look at that baby and you go, wow. And everything inside of you goes, and you look at it, pretty soon you just cry. And people go, what's wrong? Are you sick? You go, nah, yeah, no, I don't know. Because loving is absolutely crazy. But crazy people are very easy to get along with. Unpredictable, but easy. The way to get along with a crazy person is to know that they're unpredictable and watch what you do, and you're fine. You other people aren't crazy, you're predictable and miserable. Be a little foolish at times. That's just the way it is, you know?
Thank you.
All right. See in the back row.
Hi, I have a question. When you chant, do you have to stop and listen?
Stop and listen.
Stop and listen.
Because the chanting is tuning you into God. But if you don't stop to listen, how do you know if God answered?
I guess when you say that, I think, well, he's not going to answer anyway. I have that thing.
Well, he's been notorious for not answering for generations. But all along, he's been answering. I mean, if you see a sun come up in the morning, God is still answering. Or if you see the season change, God is still answering. And if you're after a special guidance from the great bellhop in the sky to move your luggage around, he might not answer.
That's why he's not answering.
The whole focus of spiritual exercises is not to get God to do something for you, but it is to see and love and know God for God. When you've done that, you have known all things and all creations. Therefore, to know the creations by themselves is a detour and a waste of time. If you go to the Creator, then you know all these things. Because in the Creator is known all the seeds of creation.
So it's just be present with God.
If we had this room broken down to many stalls, and in it you could find all the different types of clothing that a woman could wear, or you could drive over 100 miles and find different shops with clothing, which would you do?
Here.
Yeah, but most people go drive all over the shops for the excitement of driving around, but they'd never get to all the shops. But this way you'd get into the one of it and you'd see the sample of what's in all the shops, then you could go to them directly and get what you want. SEs are that way. You go to the Creator, and you get to see all of the creation from that point. Then if you want to go into it, you know exactly what you're going into.
Okay, can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
When I'm at work, is it possible to just sit back like when I'm walking around the class and chant? Does that do anything, or is that just my
No,
mind?
that helps the part of the mind that must automatically be able to call out God's name. So at the moment of death, it'll automatically call God's name.
So
Now,
that's-
not knowing when you're going to die, it'd be nice to be able to have God's name going through you all the time. And it isn't just a name, but there's a sweetness that comes with the sound of that and the light of that. And there's a taste and a smell that happens when you get caught into it. It's a total type of obsession that allows you to walk through this world with a whole lot of just impunity to what goes on. I mean, the kids could be throwing spitballs at you and calling you names, and you go, thank you. And they go, might as well leave her alone, she's whacked out. You go, thank you. And then they leave you alone, you sit there whacked out, having a wonderful time with it all, teaching them all sorts of things, and they walk out saying, I love this class. I don't know why, but I do.
Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, you might as well be brainwashed to your advantage as brainwashed to your disadvantage.
That's true.
So you don't accommodate people's thoughts about you. Accommodate your own thoughts. Right?
Right.
I mean, you accommodate your negative thoughts about you. Why not accommodate positive thoughts about you? Think about it for a minute. It's so foolish and ridiculous, but doesn't it make sense? Who's living in there with you? Just you, so you might as well think what you want and make it worthwhile to yourself. And who cares if you're not living in a Pollyanna-type world or you are? You want to live in a real world? Go over and live in Beirut and done the bombs and the shells. This is real.
I love you, JR.
I know, that's why I talk to you. Well, that's true, though, and you know I love you.
Hi. When I stop to listen for the sound current, I don't hear anything. I may have heard the sound current.
You don't know if you hear anything.
I don't know if I think.
See, what we're trying to do is get the words to match real accurately what's going on, because otherwise you're going to live a delusion.
Yeah. You better believe it. I'm good at that.
Well, then not you're good, you can move to something else.
Right, I can do that too. So let's do that. I think I've heard it consciously 3 times, maybe. But mostly.
Oh, that's wonderful. Some people are still waiting to hear it once.
Well, good. Mostly, I just get silence.
Oh, in the silence is found the sound.
So I should just sit with the silence.
Yeah, that's terrific. Can you imagine sitting silent without your mind going, get up and go do something?
Well, my mind does come in. of
Then you're
course.
not in the silence.
Okay.
You've mislabeled what it is.
Well, sometimes I am in the silence.
Now make up your mind, will ya?
Well, sometimes it's one way.
Sometimes
and
you are,
it's
sometimes you're
another.
not. Okay. It works like that. And you can be part of the silence that's in the silence. The other part can be in the mind chattering, and you can sit there and watch your mind chatter and still be silent.
Yeah, I've had that experience
Me too.
So it's all fine.
It really is.
Okay, thank you. I love you.
Thank you. No, Gail.
I didn't get to work up enough fear to go with this question.
Oh, geez.
No.
That's terrible. How's that?
You gave me
Give 'em
time
what
to
they
work
asked
it
for.
up. Okay.
Got it now?
I have a problem that I think I'd like to get some light on as far as spirituality and sexuality and how the two go hand in hand, or if they don't go hand in hand at all. And oh, JR, I've asked this question in my head and you've just creamed me, so I'm really afraid to ask it. But I just have this block that says if I'm going to be a spiritual person, that for some reason I'm not also supposed to be a sexual person, and I withhold.
Well, there's really no relationship between sex and spirit. Though sexuality, there would be a relationship. If we look at the word sexuality, all relationships are intercourse. So your relationship with God would be a sexuality-based relationship. You'd have an intercourse with God. And if God resides in us in the kingdom of heaven, then all the scriptures point to that direction. If you want to have sex with God, you can have it with your husband. And if you can get past the physicality of it, then you can have indeed a truly wonderful relationship. The nice thing about that is that when children are born, then the children come from a very high spiritual birthright. And if it's not in that light, then you may get a child who comes out of a lower spiritual birthright. Still fine, just lower. I think in the case of a woman, this history on the planet has made the woman the object of a man's greed. Not necessarily his need, but the greed. And man has been raised by women to an insecurity level that they have been taught to rely upon mama. So the female figure in their life is one that they want to have sex with as a means of ownership. And if they can then own their mother, own the female, then the man feels secure within himself. First of all, you can't own anyone. If I own you, I only own you in your mind. I can't own you as a real reality. You may agree to the ownership and give your power over to me, but you can't really give it over to me because I really can't take it. All you'll do is submit your power to yourself and give in to whatever energy I place toward you. So therefore, I will be able to have sex with you at my own discretion, and I get to disregard you because I've already conquered you. We're taught to go for things in this world and to accomplish and to create and to overcome. Once we do that, we take and give it away or dismiss it. Consequently, we're taught to play hard to get. And as soon as a man can get a woman, and he'll promise her everything. Even things she knows he can't promise. I'll love you eternally. I'll love you till the day I die. I'll always be faithful. We want to hear those statements from the object of our elevation, whoever we've elevated above us. We then want to get them to overcome them. But the bad news about that is there's never an equality basis working. There's always an overcoming basis. The overcoming of it is also the destruction of it in our society the way it functions today. So we have to come into a different relationship inside of ourselves as a human being, to come into a different relationship with another person as a human being. The fundamental relationship change is one of loving me no matter what I say, think, or do, so that I can therefore bring all things into an equal basis in my life. I love depression, I love joy. I love my wife, I love my children. I love my boss, I love my car. I love myself, I love the enemy. I love my country, I love other countries. So that everything comes to the basis of oneness. In the oneness, whatever you do has got to be right and proper, because there's not a second, and a second is separation. If in the relationship, sexually, with another individual, you separate and identify as your own energy field of sensation, climax, and you have not considered the other person as part of that, then what you've done is you've committed a sin. But if in your receiving of your spouse into your body, that receiving of them is the equating of the oneness, then you have fulfilled yourself and your spouse is fulfilled. That's the woman's responsibility. Once they do that, they become the man's quiet. He won't go anywhere else to rest his energy field. He will rest it with his spouse. The man's, are you still with me? The man's reference point to this is the one of giving the energy, of security, of upliftment. Where the woman becomes passive as the receptor, the man must become assertive as a provider. These two become positive and negative, and when they come together, they go as one. Therefore, the woman living at home becomes as much a part of the man's income and of his work as the man out on the work supplies money for the family. Therefore, her work is equated with his work. He must let her know the value of her sustenance to him. And that is the partnership. When he enters into that, he's entered into a relationship with himself of his wife being equal. And what comes from her then is equal in his eyesight because it comes from the object of his loving. Therefore, he takes care of the wife and takes care of the family. But he can't do that until he takes care of himself as a spiritual being. That means he must do those things that are noble, that are honest, that are ethical in his own eyesight, not in the eyesight of the world, in his own eyesight, and in the eyesight of his spouse, and then in the eyesight of his children. Because if he doesn't have the loving respect of the children by way of the mother, because she's the one feeding their brains all along about who daddy is and who daddy isn't, she then is setting up the new children to either be happy, well-rounded, or to be sadly lacking and remiss as a child of God's light. There's a tremendous responsibility on the woman in the world today. All the problems we have now in our society can be traced rightfully back to the training of a woman to a man on the planet. If she's not training him according to him, she is training him according to her and will corrupt his spiritual, sexual, mental, emotional energy. Then she has a problem on her hand, and you then have a man entering into life as a rebel. And he will then assert himself against all beings, attempting to find his balance and his value. He can only find it when he's entered into the spirituality of the oneness with himself and another person. Therefore, he can't avoid relationships. He must enter into the relationship as a fulfillment of the covenant of his own beingness with any other individual. When he's done that, then Christ reigns in the household. And where two or more are gathered in that name, the third one appears automatically as a gestalted energy field. Then you have harmony and peace in the family.
Well, thank you. Can we buy that on tape?
I don't know. I suppose it's on tape. Thank you.
You mentioned earlier today about after you had chanted your tone, you would listen. When I do that, I hear a sound that I also hear at other times. And the question I have is there an association, or should I expect to hear a different sound at that time?
Well, to answer the last part, I don't know, because I don't know what you should expect. But I would expect to hear the sounds that are on my line of energy into God's heart. And though I know there are other sounds, I would not listen to them as a detraction, because that then is avoiding of the primary relationship of following the sound and the light into God, the Word made flesh. There are cosmic sounds that are all over. We can hear one now called air conditioner. We can hear a high-pitched frequency over in this side of the room. It might be over there in the taping area. Can you hear it? It's a matter of attention. If we give our attention at 100% to the focus of our direction, we have success. It's axiomatic. We have success. Whether we physically move to that or not is immaterial, because success is present in the action of focusing attention and awareness. Because at that point, we become a perfect receptacle for the sound to come into us and live in us. That is called the outraying of Christ from a spiritual being into a physical being and outraying into the world, often referred to as the overshadowing. Those are all parts of our heritage as a spiritual being. It has nothing at all to do with the Bible, to do with religion, to do with philosophy. It has nothing at all to do with anything you can think. It has to do with life. The way life is, as breathing in and breathing out, as running the blood, as digesting food, as walking, as moving. It has nothing at all to do with finances, economics, politics, philosophy, marriage. It has to do with life and death.
Okay. Thank you.
De nada, de nada.
This is an initiation question, but I'm not digging. I just wanted you to know that.
Oh, no, I don't know that. Oh, no.
No, how do you know when you're ready to go up to another level of initiation? Is there anything in the outer world that will tell you in terms of how you handle experiences?
Me. I can tell you in the outer world, from my lips to your ears.
Well, is there anything else besides that? Or?
Yes, any other initiate who's tuned in can tell you.
How about inside of me?
Well, now that's inside of you. It's not in the world. So now it's a new question.
Right.
You will have the experience inside of you of initiation. Now, then your job is to remember it long enough to get it on paper to me. Any teacher worth their salt has got to make you have a critical, inquiring mind so you don't get trapped by fields of negativity. And I do that. I do all sorts of things to get people going. However, my work is to produce enough doubt in you that you no longer pay attention to it. To the doubt.
Pay attention to...
To the doubt.
Oh. Experience that I feel that I have handled better in the last couple of years.
Has nothing at all to do with the physical world. Initiation has nothing at all to do with the physical world.
It's all going inside.
It's all inside, has to do with the inner world. If you think you're thinking better, so now you get a theory of initiation, that's not a criteria for initiation. That's just that you're thinking better. Now, it may be that you've worked out a lot of karma, but it's no criteria for initiation.
Okay.
Who's in the back row back there? Yeah, go ahead, see what you can do.
All sound current teachers, at least that I've read about, agree that you have to be initiated by a living master. So if on day 28 of my 24th Discord, if you bail out, is there a contingency plan, or do I have to start over?
No, it's a real good question. Would you like a real good answer?
Yes.
If you are to receive initiation into the sound current, there is nothing in any universe can stop you. Ta-da!
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And if you're not, there's no way that 28 discourses will do it, or 400. But the seed of transcendence is planted in you. And if you incarnate again to receive the fullness of that, then that will be the most wonderful thing for you. The most wonderful.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'd like to be able to get out of the body consciously.
Do you mean have a physical awareness that you're out of the body?
Yeah,
It won't take place, that's double talk.
well,
Yeah.
not a physical awareness, to be out of the body and like look back and see the body.
Well, you've done that a lot of times.
Yeah, I guess I have, but I'd like to be able to do it all, regularly.
Well, you do it regularly. Let me see if I can say what you're saying. I'd like to bring the awareness out of the body back into the body so I can make them seem like a continuous thing. So I can know when I'm out, that when I'm back in, I'll know that I was out.
Yeah, that's what I like.
Good luck. Well, see, what you're bringing the awareness back through is no memory. But you can bring it through awareness. Most people confine their awareness to their physical body and their emotions and their mind, and what their mind thinks and what their emotions feel and then what their body tells them. So they're going at it backwards. So if we expand our awareness, that awareness that we expand from here can also reach the awareness that we're building on the upper level by being in it and expanding back. When you are chanting the name of God, and let's say it's been charged through initiation, because these names are written all over books everywhere, but they're not charged, so they won't do anything. They can alter your consciousness, but they won't give you a spiritual awareness. But a coffee can alter your consciousness, and so can a depression pill. So we're talking about spiritualizing it rather than just altering it or giving you a good feeling in your body. In fact, you can have a miserable feeling in your body and be traveling all over the higher heavens. And generally you will have, because the tie-in to the body is letting it know that it's not where you are. And it's also recording that you're out there, and when you come back, you're not going to like it. And a lot of people come back into the body and they wake up miserable, mad, here again. And they'll get up with no real reason for grumpiness, except they got the best reason in the world. They saw God, now they're back here looking at garbage. So when I say it takes great courage to see the face of God, you have to look at all the lower level illusions of everything everybody does with total detachment and equanimity. You look at it and you close your eyes and it's gone. And when you close your eyes, the vision of spirit drops in. When that spirit drops in, it's really not in you as much as you're up into it. Now the Bible says when you're in the spirit, you're with God. When you're in the emotions, you're with your own stuff. When you're in your mind, you're with your own stuff. When you're in your body, you're with your own stuff. But when you're in the spirit, when you are in the spirit, that name of God anchors back into your body. It's tied back in there by the inner master. So you travel out on it, that's how you get back in the body, and that's why nobody else can get into your body and take it over. Because they don't have that tone charged to their vibration. It throws them off. When you're out of the body then, and you're traveling, you're clearing the karma, that then allows your awareness to expand into what was previously occupied by karmic space. It's now a vacuum, and that vacuum is yours. So you get to feel that space. As you do, it's like coming up out of a bottle, a neck bottle, and out here into the open. And so you will feel this great expansion and awareness, and at the same time you're looking through your eyes. So it's like there's a pair of eyes up here looking and a pair of eyes down here looking. But usually the upper eyes are back, looking down at your head and your body from a distance. And then you look at your body and go, oh my God, and you're in your body. Because you call God in the body, oh my God, as you look at your body and you go to it. So you don't look at your body and say, oh my God. You turn away from it and look up and say, oh my God. So you understand what I'm saying? Because you look at it and you go, oh, and you're in. Because it pulls in very, very fast. Key is to be in and out of the body many, many, many times during a day. Instead of trying to go for one big one, they go for 10,000 small ones. When you get through 10,000 small ones, you've done one big one. But people can't do one big one because they don't understand what that is. Say, what's a big one? And nobody knows. We all make believe we know it, and so we start putting what we think is a big one. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what I'm talking about, not what you're seeing in your mind that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that. Because if you can see it in your mind, I'm not talking about that. You understand? See, it seems like double talk, but something inside of me goes, yeah.
So what you're saying is you really can't experience it simultaneously. Like I've had experiences of
yes, you can.
Being in the physical and being there, which you have validated.
You can experience simultaneously.
Okay, I guess sort of I'd like to have that more. That's been rare.
Well, the answer to that is called practice, practice, practice. You have it more by expanding the awareness more. See, the thing is, if we're at this level here, let's say 4 inches, and you go up to 8 inches, And you keep doing that an awful lot. Pretty soon that 8 inches feels the same as 4 did before. So you move up to it and you treat it like 4. What you really got is up here at 8, but you pushed it down to the 4 level because you're making everything come down to your level. Well, you're not going to go very far by keep bringing things down to your level. At some point, you have to give up yours and come up to the higher level. And that means surrendering your body to the spiritual force that you are. And in the body condition, you just give it over. Because it's going to die anyway. I mean, the folderol about the body and what the body does is nonsense. The graveyards are clear full of people that did that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you a question. When I'm doing my essays and I hear the sound of God, and then I see the mystical traveler, do I sacrifice the sound, or do I just integrate the sound and the traveler?
In the inner worlds, and that's like in the spirit worlds inside of you, the traveler consciousness is a supreme consciousness. Now that is also you. You have to remember that. I have keys to it. And those I share as fast as you're able to handle them. It's not the keys for the level you're on, because you don't need that. It's ones for the ones above. When you start to travel, the sound current, the sound that it makes on the different realms, and the color of those realms lets you know where the soul is if you're not consciously in it. When you listen to the sound current, you're listening to where the soul is because you can't hear it unless the soul is on it. So if you hear water running, or a tingling bell, or a violin, or a sound of a conch, and you're not seeing anything, but you're hearing, that lets you know the soul is there on that level. And you're here on this one. Well, it's saying that the soul is traveling independent of you consciously. You with me still?
Yeah.
Okay. So then what we want to do is find a way that we consciously are united with the soul and can travel in that realm. That's where the traveler consciousness comes in. Okay, it's a commutator. It steps down energy from the spirit down to you. But only steps it down so far. Because you're responsible for your spiritual growth here. If you don't come to a workshop, nobody's going to drag you in. If you don't chant, if you don't do the essays, nobody's going to force you. You're totally 100,000% responsible. Not me. There's no need to look at me. I just go, off with you. Because I'm responsible for me. Spiritually, I have a responsibility. I handle that. I'm very good at my work. Very good.
Yes, you are.
I'm not good at this field. This is not my work. I never agreed to this. But then, when you move into yourself, you're still responsible for all the things inside of you that you have created. When you move out into the spiritual realms, I'm responsible. Not this physical body. This physical body is responsible for it, not for yours. Do you understand that? I digest my own food, run my own blood, breathe my own. That's my responsibility. When we get out into the great spiritual vibration, it's so big. How big is it? It's so big. That'd be the name of a book, wouldn't it? That you can get lost in it. That's called the Charasa, or the Wheel of 84, or incarnation patterns. So what we do is we find out what is the direct line, the most direct line for you, given your previous existences, given what you did or didn't do, given the residual karmas you have to deal with, given your predestined karmas you have to deal with, given. Then we have to do yours your way. Your high self has the blueprint up to the soul level. and is dispensing the karmic flow. When you listen to the sound current, then you get to eventually go past the high self, because the high self has to stay in the low realms, from the etheric level down. So the soul vibration can go on all the levels. That's why we do soul work. That's why we work in the soul. The energy that comes back into this level may or may not be beneficial to you. You can sit here physically, I can sit physically and listen to the different sounds, the sounds of the different realms, and see the different colors. But good God, we're looking at millions of failures before a success. I mean, I failed so many times, and I knew it when I was failing, because I wasn't that stupid. Dumb, but not stupid. I mean, I was dumb to keep failing, right? Listening to the sound current then is good up to the soul level. Then you sacrifice it. Because then you don't hear the sound the way we do now. What else?
And then whatever comes up, even seeing the traveler.
You go next.
Yeah, just that, yeah. And just enjoy.
Wherever you can go, don't worry about the traveler not being able to go. I wouldn't even consider that it couldn't go there. I'd be wasting your time. You might as well figure it's ahead of me and everything's fine. As a matter of fact, that's true. But the traveler that's ahead of you is also the one that's in you, that's also you. So what's there to be afraid of? When the new energies come in, you'll handle them just like you handle new food that you eat every day. If you go to a foreign country, eat strange food, you handle it. Now, maybe not as well as the people who've lived there all along, but you handle it. But then you know you're just visiting anyway. Well, you're just visiting down here also. And you're just visiting on these lower levels of light. So you'll handle it. And that doesn't mean that everything's real smooth, real aha all the time. It's not that way. The higher you go, the more people stand in line to spit on your name. Just duck. Because when the wind blows, it'll whip right back on them. And you just get to go, well, life is like that.
I just really love you and all of us. I see myself more like you all the time. I really do.
Eventually, we're all going to be the same.
Yeah, I like that.
Do you know that God is one and the same all the time? Eventually, we're all going to be the same. I mean, we don't want to be like me here. I don't want to be like you here. You know, I'd like to be like we all are there. That's terrific. And that what we all are is going to be so wonderfully joyful that the word's going to be a misrepresentation. Okay, thank you.
I'll see ya.
We'll hold on further questions. You know, if I don't call on you, I follow a light. The light, I look around, the light comes on top of people's heads, and I go that way. If you don't like it, you know, in the Bible, at the time of Pentecost, the flames of the sound current spoke out over the disciples because they were of one accord. There was no dissension. Not just one accord with each other out there, but they were of one accord inside of them, which is the key to all of this. To have oneness, a unity inside, a complete fulfilling of yourself in this oneness, then you hear the sound of God. If you're distracted by questions, by answers, by tiddlywinks, by whatever, that stands between you and God, and anything that stands between you and God is a sin, because that means missing the mark. Now, if one thing stands between you and God, you might as well have 10,000 things stand between you and God, because it's standing between you and God. The Bible says if you're guilty of one part of the law, if you break it, you're guilty of all of it. Makes sense, doesn't it? You might as well do all of it because it's as effective as if you had one and all of it. It's the same thing. It's a block between you and God. In our mind, we go, well, one isn't as bad as 10. 1 doesn't. So 10 doesn't. But isn't it easier to get rid of 1 than 10? No. Here's how it's easy. All you do is move into loving, and all 10 are wiped out. All you move into loving, and that 1 is wiped out, or 8, or 7. You get the cure? It's fantastic. It's an easy thing to do. Very special.